Death Pixie Disclaimer. This video was originally recorded in March and April of 2025. There is swearing and profanity. Sources are listed in the description. This video is not monetized. Any ads you see provide revenue to the hosting site and not the creators. If you made it this far, geez, you have a lot of patience.
Dance Pixie dancing on the lip of madness.
Welcome to Shitty PowerPoint Theater. Dignity not included.
Hello everyone, I am Hubert Trapdoor Crabsworth, wisest of the fools, and I would just like to say one thing before we begin.
Penis, 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 penis.
Why did I say that, you might be asking? Well, it is time for
Penis.
my wonderful compatriot, Myry and I, alongside our proverbial candidate, run-in candidate, Regina Dentata, are here to
Penis.
your game plan for Death Pixie's platform.
Yeah, so you have stayed with us. We've gone through all of this Canadian politics, a bit of history, all the prime ministers. We rewarded you with our parade of memes, with who you would tap the most, who's the shadiest prime minister.
It's
And
Trudeau.
yeah.
Trudeau has a penis.
And what was it? We also cast the most, I don't know, batshit era in Canadian
Hey,
politics, according to The
You
Office.
say batshit, I say perfect.
It was great. I'm not gonna
Dunder
lie.
Mifflin on crack. It's great.
I know, and we all know you want to see that show. Don't lie. Everyone wants to see that show.
It.
The addendum to our Justin Trudeau came out. He has officially retired, and we now have Carney as our prime minister. And I know, everyone's like, well, now you have to do an episode on Carney.
No, we
No,
don't.
it's only been a couple weeks. Like, we're not going to be tracking him. Like, guys, we have lives and other
Okay.
projects.
He scrapped the consumer carbon tax. Let's talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is probably what Justin Trudeau should have done when the carbon tax got so much backlash. Make the corporations pay for it. It's a great idea, and you get to keep some of the benefits of having a carbon tax, which I'm sorry to tell you, there are benefits to it, especially when the consumer side of things has to, not pay for it and the corporate side does, even though some savings will be passed on because corporations are dicks and there probably aren't protections to make sure it happens. It's still a good thing. It is a good thing regardless of how you slice it.
Like, it's a good thing when the super rich pay their taxes. It's a good thing when corporations pay their taxes.
We want all of them to pay their taxes.
Yeah.
With
Also,
their penises.
I will point out one thing, because we're doing a little bit of an update before we keep going about Carney. Amazing track record for economics and money.
He is this generation's Paul Martin.
Yeah. Compare that to PP or Milhouse, however you want to call him, who has not even passed a piece of legislation. So,
Everything's coming up Milhouse.
Everything is coming up Milhouse.
So before we begin, just because, we have to get the dick quota in.
You think the pencil looks like a penis today? Comment below.
It always does. That's why I designed my presentation this way. Now then.
Did the fireworks always used to blink?
Yes, they did!
Oh my god, I didn't notice till now.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we've done this. So, Now, I suppose you're wondering, what is this project leading to? Because obviously it has to lead to something. And that's when I'm going to say, yeah, it is leading to something, which is we have a candidate that we are
And
pushing
she is
forward.
getting fat
Yeah.
off of
So,
politics. She is ready to combat the evil, cruel conventional party system.
but before we get to who it is, we have to talk about our game plan. Our game plan
Wait.
for
We're gonna
creating.
reveal who she is today?
Yes, we are.
Oh my
No.
god!
Yeah, it's happening.
Oh my god!
Now, but we have to go through our game plan. What have we learned? What are the lessons learned? What is our party platform? Because that's what Death Pixie is really all about. How to get elected in Canada is about how to get elected in Canada. So, what
I
is
thought
our
it was
game plan?
about dancing on the lip of madness, but
I mean, that is our
anything is good
slogan.
too.
So, there you go. Now, then, we have a game plan. So, what do we learn? We've got some do's, we've got some don'ts. And I think the do's are pretty obvious. You got to have a clear mandate and a clear action plan. Number one, people like decisive leaders.
Yes.
You got to be going for a unified and peaceful Canada. People like a peaceful, unified Canada. We saw that
Do you want to know
frequently.
why Justin Trudeau got so much love on the way out when he basically became Debbie 2 weeks till retirement?
Can
And
we just talk about the fact that Justin was a 65-year-old Debbie 2 weeks away from retirement and living his best life? Like, it
well,
was beautiful.
so I am looking at this just based off of the dues for the last 2 months for the entirety of 2025 when Justin Trudeau was prime minister. He was speaking to a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm.
We had a clear mandate and action plan stop Donald Trump, which led to a unified and peaceful Canada within our own borders. Even conservative pundits who are like, Justin Trudeau bad, call the election now, rah, rah, pee, Polly Pocket. We're like, okay, he's doing a good job right now. That's pretty good. It's human rights focused, specifically in the job market. Justin Trudeau wanted to protect as many Canadian jobs as humanly possible. Now, regardless of what you might think, jobs are good.
Mm-hmm.
And charisma, this man oozed. Well, I mean, we're Death Pixie. We're dancing on the lip of madness here. We've already said penis like 127 times. He exuded big dick energy
And
that we wanted him to exude
look,
since COVID Trudeau.
Crabsworth has said it enough. Is Justin Trudeau the best prime minister? No. Is he the worst prime minister? Oh, not by a long shot. Not by a long shot.
Oh no.
But when Justin Trudeau, particularly Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, is bringing the charisma, taking no names, giving no shits, being maximum sexy, we gotta get behind that.
Principal Trudeau, bitches.
Yeah, like we gotta get behind it. Also, grow back your beard. We want COVID Trudeau. Anyway, that's it.
Yeah. Even in retirement, we want COVID Trudeau.
Image and branding. I mean, hell yeah.
COVID Trudeau was a thing. He was the sexiest thing since sliced bread, and he spoke for all Canadians with a beard.
Yeah. And he had very stern conversations with certain premiers who were being jackasses.
Oh,
And
Dougie, if you embezzle more of my money, I'm going to crack a whip on you.
yeah,
Whack!
that's great.
Mr. Trudeau, please don't hurt me. I'm caretaker Ford. I'm going to take care of the province. Please, Mr. Trudeau, don't crack me with the whip.
Well, Ford, it is too little too late. I'm going to have to crack you with my whip.
Now, big thing, embrace the memes and the embarrassment. So Justin Trudeau is decisively the prime minister who had the most memes.
Yes.
And he let it happen. But what do we mean by embarrassment? Well, I mean, take a look at Jean Chrétien. Some of the things he said could have been embarrassing. For example, what is pepper spray? I put it on my food. But he gave no shits. He was just like, yeah, I said it, and
He owns it. He really owns it.
yeah, he just owns it. And it also helps. He's smart, as shown by the wonderful, glorious op-ed he wrote on his birthday. Like, he's still smart as a whip. So, a lot of things that you want to do. But there's also a lot of things you don't want to do. So, for example, attacking your opponents for something they cannot change. Now, I know that we don't know for sure if it was Kim Campbell or if she was being shafted by her own party. I think she was being shafted by her own party. But
I
either way,
personally think it was Kim. What a bitch.
but either way, having an attack ad about Jean Chrétien and how he spoke when he had a stroke, not very good. You cannot be indecisive. We saw this with a couple prime ministers, in particular the Deef of going back and forth on the Cuban Missile Crisis.
And
And
Waffly Willie going back and forth on everything.
yeah, so you can't be indecisive. You've got to make a decision and you got to stick to it. And if you're going to change it, you got to be backed up. Don't let corporations steamroll you. Example, I'll
Hi,
say,
my name is Stephen Harper.
yep.
I'll cut your corporate taxes.
Big example, look at how much the for Ontario, look at how much the 407 was sold for and how much it makes billions.
No, it doesn't.
Don't eat paste. Now this was yours.
Yes. So, the reason why I said don't eat paste is, quite frankly, you have a lot of prime ministers and a lot of politicians in high-ranking spots, and it's not just in Canada, who have the reputation of eating paste. It may not be the paste that you're thinking, but it definitely is there. You need to be seen on a world stage and within your own country as being intelligent enough to lead it at all times. And if you are ever getting the reputation of eating paste, strongly consider leaving at the next election.
Exactly. Don't let the US steamroll you. Big example right now.
Hi, I'm Polly Pocket. I'm not against the US. I'm actually very tough on them. Just look at my newest ad, where where Donald Trump said he would much rather deal with Mark Carney.
Oh my gosh. Mark Carney's coming out swinging, being all like, "I'm not gonna meet up until you start playing ball, guys." Now here's another thing: you don't want to cause a scandal. We saw that being the downfall to a lot of prime ministers.
Yeah.
You don't want to have a scandal, except for a sexy scandal.
No, absolutely. And I think we've spoken at this at length several times, honestly. But realistically, if we want to just pull the curtain back ever so slightly, if you can make a scandal work for you, like Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky up in the United States, let it happen. Why? Because that was a sexy scandal that only ruined one woman's life. And quite frankly, is one woman's life better than a country full of women?
Oh my
Who don't
god!
have their lives ruined? Think about it.
I was gonna talk about Pierre Elliott Trudeau and the Rolling Stones scandal, but okay, let's go there. No, it's fine.
Yours
It's
is
fine.
better.
It's fine. We're just, you know what? We'll let that hang and marinate.
Look, it is literally a sexy scandal. I don't know.
Now, speaking of sexy, Sexy lessons we've learned from the prime ministers, because you're probably thinking to yourselves, well, you haven't mentioned all the prime ministers. What have we learned from all of them? Well, I'll tell you what we've learned from all of them. Firstly, John A. Macdonald, give people what they want.
Alcohol.
Exactly.
And quite frankly, he has done an excellent job of influencing even contemporary prime ministers, and better yet, even better contemporary premiers. Do you remember Doug Ford's big buck of beer challenge that he couldn't fucking do?
Yep.
Wow, that was influenced by Sir John A. Macdonald. Doug Ford even says it himself. I was so afraid that Justin Trudeau's gonna hurt me that I was drinking, and then I thought of this good idea. It's a buck of beer, because I had a bunch of beer, but I only had a buck to pay for it, which is fine, because I had all my corporate buddies say, oh my god, Junkie, please take my beer and take my fucking, I don't know, $10 billion of taxpayers' money. And I was like, you know what, buddies? I could do that.
Oh my god. Alexander Mackenzie, build sexy buildings and use sexy trades.
Oh yeah.
That's right. We need our sexy buildings back. Because, walkability, tourism.
They had character.
Yeah, and we need our there's this big thing about like, oh, get into the trades, blah blah blah. No. You're not getting into the trades to go on some like welder's assembly line. No. We want sexy trades out with the people, doing things, beautifying like our cities and our towns. That's what we want. Sexy trades
baby.
out there.
But we want it to be affordable gentrification that we're doing.
Yes, everybody should be beautified. Everyone.
Yes. Especially me.
John Abbott, be the least loathsome option.
How in the holy hell? Just in general.
Yeah, just in general. Don't be an asshole.
How have we gotten to the point where, because I know people like this, and hell, I voted this way myself. What candidate do I trust to be the least bad?
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't voted like that at least once, you're lying to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Or you're under the age of 18, in which case you haven't voted yet. But even then, class president, who is the least likely to not eat paste and be an asshole?
Yeah.
Oh, Jimmy, fine. Vote for fucking Jimmy. I don't care. Yeah, Cindy.
But not
Cindy
Kevin.
Smells like feet. It's bad. Kevin is just a dick. I don't even know why the fuck he's running. He's only got the support of himself and Mrs. Penderblast.
Sorry. Next up, John Thompson. Have a good lawyer.
It is absolutely paramount that all politicians have a good lawyer.
Oh, yeah. Now,
they're going to be violating some laws. We know
now,
that.
Unfortunately for us, we don't have money for a good lawyer. But little Crabsworth Nason over here, is an expert in public policy, which is the same thing.
Well, absolutely. And you know what? I went to the Lionel Hutz School of Legal Aid. If you've seen our Simpsons retrospective, you know how influential Lionel Hutz is on contemporary Canadian law.
Yep.
And I went to the 2-week course, which is the longest one they had.
But yes, have a good lawyer.
Yeah.
Next up, Mackenzie Bell. Be careful of mispronunciations.
Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I entirely think that's because of the last name Bowell.
Yeah. I think it's actually pronounced Bowl, but...
No, not anymore.
Yeah, I know. Charles Tupper, you gotta dress well. Gotta dress dapperly.
Pulled off every look he ever had.
Yeah. And like you gotta have a look. You gotta have a look, period. And this is where it started. Wilfrid Laurier, compromise is key to Canada.
Absolutely. Just don't waffle on your compromises.
Exactly. Now, Robert Laird Borden, conscription is not sexy.
It's not.
It might be necessary in certain circumstances, but it is not sexy, unfortunately. So, or fortunately, actually, I don't like conscription. Arthur Meighen, have a sexy scandal.
Hell yeah.
You know, They know. The audience knows. Jerry knows.
Especially Jerry.
William Lyon Mackenzie, talk to ghosts. That's right. Keep your weirdness under wraps while you're kicking ass and taking names. Talk
Unless
to
you're
ghosts.
in the bedroom with Arthur Megan and it's getting pretty sexy, and then before you know it, well, bam, the ghost comes out and they're like, hey, how long is it going to be this time? I got my money on 4 minutes or more.
Louis Saint Laurent. Healthcare is sexy.
What a surprise!
It's a big thing. And
Healthcare keeps things and people alive.
yeah, I'm over here being like, can we please get included in our healthcare programs? One eye examination every year, one dental exam every year, and then things like, I get it, the frames can be expensive. Why Versace frames are needed, I don't know, but lenses, could lenses be provided once a year? You can get new lenses. And you can get like
know.
certain dental work, for example, if you have completely rotted teeth, like that's going to affect your health. So yeah, we just want to see it expanded. That's all.
Now, quite frankly, are we advocating for the entirety of Canada to have a dental plan? Yes.
Yes.
Are we going to make Lisa Simpson Canadian so she can finally get her braces?
Yes. I don't see the problem here. John Diefenbaker. Time does not heal all wounds. Now, look, I'll say it.
Oh
He
my
was
god,
he was
a shady MFer. Just
He was.
shady AF.
Now, look, he really was anti-racist, anti-apartheid. He did a lot of good. But he was also such a vicious jackass.
Oh my god. And not even the fun jackass like Oscar Leroy from Corner Gas. See, I can make Canadian references too. No, he was like Oscar Leroy if Oscar had never seen sunlight or happiness.
Yeah, like it's there's a misery there that is just sad.
Does he give off Emma Leroy vibes to you? I didn't think of it till now. I meant to ask you way back when, but like that just seems like the Deef is just Emma Leroy and Trump if they had a baby, and that baby was even stupider than Trump. But somehow was raised by Emma and therefore had some, good morals on his shoulders. So Trump is easily the worst. And so you just dump Trump in a vat of acid, and I've gone off track here.
That's
so
okay.
basically what we're saying is I'm sorry. How the fuck could you hate Lester B. Pearson, Dave?
You can't. How
the fuck could you advocate for his Nobel Prize to be taken away, Dave?
Yeah. Like, look, we went through all the information. He was the least controversial leader, and he was more Canadian than a goose riding a moose.
Yeah.
Like, we got nothing bad to say about him. Maybe, if we looked into his personal life, we'd find some stuff. Also, he was secretly shady.
He was.
Like, when we did the shade scale, there were a couple quotes I gave you where you were like, there is no way he said it. And I'm like, he said it. Like, oh.
And we were all like, whoa. And then you were like, whoa. And then we were like, whoa.
Pierre Elliott Trudeau. You gotta wear that pimp hat, #BDE.
Hell yeah.
And you all know what we mean by that.
And we all know that Sonny Boy had it. We was just talking about it. And where did Sonny Boy get it? His daddy.
Exactly. Joe Clark. Unfortunately, being bland and boring does not equal votes. He had awesome ideas. He was one of the last actual progressive conservatives.
We were proud of him. We wanted him back.
And unfortunately, I mean, even Pierre Elliott Trudeau liked him. So, yeah, unfortunately, being bland and boring does not equal votes.
I'm sad.
And you can see why, because he, like, what is it? William Lyon Mackenzie, King, Louis Saint Laurent, John Diefenbaker, Lester B. Pearson, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, those are some big personalities. Like, all of them have very big and clear personalities that you're following there. So,
Well, actually, you're following a sexy scandal in of itself.
yep.
Louis Saint Laurent is also relatively boring, but not to the level of Joe Clark. And then
No, but he
you
had
know,
his Uncle Louis, Papa Louis personality.
yeah,
It was a
Papa
big thing
Lou is
for
good. Papa Lou
families.
is
Yeah. So, anyway, John Turner, have a sexy royal scandal.
good. Hell yeah, baby.
It was never confirmed,
We know
but
it was confirmed.
he had the royal scandals. And if you're going to have a sexy scandal and it can be royal, you got to do that.
Oh yeah, we are all amused.
Brian Mulroney, always have a patsy.
Yep.
Always have a patsy.
Hi, Kim. Do you want to be a patsy today?
Kim Campbell, if you have to go down sexy.
Now, keep in mind, nobody really expected this out of Kim Campbell. This came out of our sexy PM chart because I said, "Oh, Kim Campbell, we should probably rate her like a 7 or an 8." And you were like, "No, just because she's a woman does not mean she should be rated that high." And then we found that pic of her,
Yep.
like PM Boudoir Kim Campbell, and we were just like,
with judge robes. I was like, I didn't know you could do it. I'm scandalized. I didn't know that was a thing.
yeah, we were just like,
Yep. Like,
it was crazy.
I know.
Oh my god.
Jean Chrétien, be a badass.
Oh hell yeah.
Kick in doors, take some names. No apologies. Paul Martin, you need to have a great finance minister. Don't be one.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you have, because that's what we learned with him. Just because you're amazing doesn't
mean you can do the whole leader of Canada thing. He was very unsexy.
Yeah, sadly. Stephen Harper. Sometimes cats can't even make you sexy. And as we saw with our scale, playing in a band doesn't necessarily make you sexy either.
Okay, but to be fair, his band was the Type C Psychotic Crazies, so...
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a very sexy band. Actually, I've been researching them. Do you want to hear one of their hit songs?
Oh, God.
Right now.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Okay.
Come along, little kitty. Get in.
No, get it away, get away. No, that sounds like something a dude who wants you to get into his unmarked van would sing. I'm sorry. No.
But Steven, there's an unmarked van over there. But I want the kitty. No, you don't. Yes, I do. No, you don't. Yes, I do. And I'm Prime Minister of Canada. Get me inside of the cat.
Well, Justin Trudeau, embrace the sexy meme.
Yeah. Look at that.
Do.
Oh, sorry. I'm too sexy for my hair. Too sexy for my hair. Why aren't you looking over there? And I'm too sexy for my beard. Too sexy for my beard. Don't look at my rear. 'Cause I'm Trudeau and you know what I mean. And I do my little flip on the podium. Yeah, on the podium. Yeah, on the podium. Yeah, I shake my little ass under the podium. Ba-ba.
Exactly.
Eat your heart out, Harper. I want to.
Love it. Now then, we've learned all these lessons. But we have also done research. So, research into what actually helps people. So, I've had to look into a lot of things. I have the Canadian Triage Acuity Scale, which is basically how you determine what is actually urgent or non-urgent. Because when it comes to things, that we're determining we need this before we need that. You've got to have a triage structure. So I referenced a lot of stuff in making the next thing that you will see. And Crabsworth has gone through this with me, and
Yep.
you'll see it. But I wanted to let you know where we got all of our stuff from for our party platform. So the Canadian Triage Acuity Scale, which is right there. And, resuscitation. Because, you kind of have to breathe. It's a bit urgent.
Hi, I'm Polly Pocket, and that doesn't necessarily align with my party views.
I also looked at Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the updates as well. In addition to the differences between an individual versus a communal society, which really is more the difference comes from how we talk about what is going on, how we talk about each of these pieces. But as you can see, physiological. For example, breathing. Breathing's pretty essential. Nobody really gives a shit about their self-esteem if they're not breathing.
Now, for some conservative pundits out there, would you also consider water to be physiological?
Exactly.
Now, if you include water to be physiological, then why would you allow some corporate entities to fucking take it for pennies on the fucking dollar?
Exactly. Now, I mentioned a couple things. So there's Maslow's for a collective society. And then Maslow's is actually based on the Blackfoot Nation worldview, which is more about intersecting circles rather than a hierarchy. So you'll see that we actually disposed of the hierarchy, but I find the visual of a pyramid really helps you understand why base needs are important.
Yep.
So and then I didn't try. I did include collectivist society as well as some Blackfoot Nation worldview, because that worldview goes into how do you deal with other countries in the world at large. So you'll see that as well. There's Abdi's hierarchy of societal development, which I referenced as well in making this. Although I had a couple things that I changed around a bit, namely because they talk about economic development and basic schooling is in economic development. So at a certain point, certain jobs that you need in society actually require higher education. You can't do it without higher education. So there's a bit here where I'm like, it feels a little out of date because you're not recognizing that you actually do need schooling. So that's where you're kind of going to see a bit of a difference in how things were done, as well as integrating that Blackfoot Nation worldview as well. But then you see we're talking about a national identity further up, and then the international influence as well. So it's talking about having those foundational needs so that your country can go onto a grand scale. So pretty simple. I'm rushing through it. There's entire university classes you can take on this stuff. So the Human Development Index by the United Nations Development Program is based on three things: the Health Index, the Education Index, and the Income Index. And what's interesting is income, and you'll see this when we get to the pyramid, income is viewed as different than economic development. Economic is viewed as how you are interacting with the greater economy at large in a country. I should say between countries. Income index is talking about the money that comes to you. So at a very base level, economy is about the money moving. It doesn't care if it's moving to you. Income, cost of living, that cares about what kind of money is moving to you and what kind of life you have. So I thought that was pretty neat that the Human Development Index is placing an emphasis on actual income of the people. So this is just so you know that everything that comes after didn't come out of air. There's also the Quality of Life Index. And what's interesting is the highest rated countries tend to be Denmark, Sweden, Switzerland, Netherlands, Norway, Finland, and Iceland. Canada actually ends up being in the top part there as well. And with the Quality of Life Index, the measures are purchasing power of an individual, including rent, safety, healthcare cost of living, property price to income ratio, traffic commute time, pollution, climate, housing, income, jobs, community, education, environment, civic engagement. Looking at you, Canadians, with that civic engagement.
Yeah, I don't know how it measures that, but we need a hit for that.
Health, life satisfaction, safety, and work-life balance. So once again, it's talking about money going to the majority of the people rather than moving around in an economy. So that, and the reason why I keep mentioning that is I want to make that distinction. Are the two related? Absolutely, they are related. They are. But
it's almost like you're speaking out against some sort of oligarchical structure that is somehow controlling almost all of the money in the neighbor to the south. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just how it feels like to me. Take it however you wish.
Yeah. There's also the the ring theory for grief, which is that the person who is directly affected can dump out to other people and the comfort comes in. So what that means is outside community and acquaintances, guess what? You don't complain to the person who's directly affected. You complain to other people. You do not complain to them because they're dealing with a higher amount of emotional stuff going on. What does that mean? That once again, and I find that this doesn't get applied to any of the hierarchy of needs or the world views or anything like that, is this concept of when you are in a society where you do not have the assumption of healthcare access, shelter, affordable shelter access, education that can result in an actual job or actual development of interests for you, clean water, various other utilities. When you don't have that, suddenly you don't give a shit about everything else. You don't care about what's going on in the international stage. You don't care about what's going on in the city next to yours or the neighborhood next to yours. You just know that you are hurting and you need help. And that is key to understanding where people's engagement and priorities come from. So that's why we're using this, and we're using the overall concept of it. All right. And then the sound relationship house.
Oh, for the love of.
Look at that.
No,
If you want to have a sound relationship
it
with
is
people,
terrible.
look at it.
It's a terrible house.
Look at this house.
I advocated for the house to be taken out of this, but no, you wanted to keep the house.
I have actually no reason for it to be in here other than to annoy you.
Wrong. It says build love maps.
Yeah,
okay?
it's good
As
for
somebody
couples.
who can't read, let alone build a map, I find this very offensive. What's next? What's next? Share fondness and admiration of what? For the love of God, I was trying to share fondness and admiration of Stephen Harper's beautiful cat song, and I was shushed.
I know. So of interest on review and reflection. So much analysis does not depend on economy, but on pay, affordability, and cost of living, which I feel I effectively explained earlier why that distinction is being made. And it, again, has to do with the fact the economy does not give a shit how much money you have. It only cares that money is moving. I think I speak for like 90% of the world when I say most of us really do care about pay, affordability, and cost of living. Most of us care what money is coming to us.
Yeah.
But side down, so trickle down economics or Reagan economics has been
Doesn't work.
it's been proved over the last 40, 50 years, longer, that it doesn't work. The more money a company makes, the less is seen to be given to the workers. Prime example of that, Loblaws Corporation made money hand over fist during COVID, even doing, I'll say alleged, because they haven't been convicted of it. We know they did it, but alleged price gouging.
Price fixing.
And you want to know what their shareholders did? They voted not to increase the minimum wage for their workers. Not to increase the minimum wage. So even though they had record profits and could absolutely have done that, no. We got to have our bonuses, right? Healthcare is important. It was in all of the scales for quality of life and for what the UN uses. Healthcare is vitally important. It is a base need.
Do you hear that, Canada?
Uh,
Healthcare is important. It's a base need. All of you pundits saying, oh, we should become the 51st state. No, you don't want that.
uh-uh. Education often isn't like if you saw it, education was only explicitly mentioned in a couple spots. And it tends to be an emphasis on higher education. However, like I said, it does need to be updated because you can't become a doctor without higher education. You can't become an engineer without higher education. Those are just two jobs off the top of my head that are necessary. Especially I used to work with engineers. They love to joke and play diss each other. Civil engineers get it the worst. Civil engineers are absolutely needed. Just look at your roads, look at your highways, city planning. That's another thing that's needed. For example,
come now, those things aren't needed.
But it's just that to me feels a little out of date because while I agree not everybody needs higher education and higher education has become a bit of a conveyor belt, there are professions that absolutely do require it. And in the cases of some people who you think wouldn't need it, it does offer the opportunity to expand one's worldview and look beyond oneself. But yeah, that's just one thing to note. The true linchpin of the electoral system is really never to have one person in power too long.
Yeah.
Canadians, we listed the prime ministers kind of in order in terms of when they were first in, but a bunch of them went away, came back. William Lyon Mackenzie King, prime example of that. There were breaks when he was around. Prime example of going out, coming back. And it, in part because Canadians get mad and so they vote for the other person, but also in part because it does allow for differing perspectives when those perspectives are not attacking human rights or stuff in our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. But
yeah, that's bad.
Yeah. Proportional representation.
Justin!
We didn't go into detail on this, but
Justin, I want to hurt you.
Yeah, in Canada, this is an issue I find with Canada, the United States, Australia, and Russia, is a lot of other countries do not understand what that size means for resources, for voting power, etc. They do not understand what that means. In Canada, is it 90% of our population is on the border in 3 very concentrated places?
I thought it was like 80.
Is it 80? 80%.
I don't know.
It's a massive percentage that we did.
You could be very much right, but
the problem with that is what we have right now with first past the post is we're not actually representing what people really vote for. We're just picking the person who got past a certain threshold. So often or not, you'll see things like a major like the last provincial election we had here, which is still fresh, a major epicenter like Toronto voting Liberal or NDP. I'm further out and I'm surrounded by blue conservative, and then my pocket is NDP. And then you go super far north and you get an NDP or Liberal area as well. But all those other areas, conservative may have won by 2%, which to me, when you had a voting turnout of less than 50%, is a meaningless win.
Quite frankly, I think that any election that has 50% turnout or less shouldn't even be verified as an election.
Yeah, so it's a big thing that I think we both noticed in going through this project is proportional representation is absolutely needed.
Gee, it would be great to have a PM who promised that in his first campaign, but then he got a majority and he was like, I I don't want to do that. Oh, Canada, look at my little head. Oh, Canada, my hair is so curly. Don't want proportional representation. La 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 la. It almost guarantees a minority government. We'd have to work together. Something, something, Canada.
I will
Oh,
give it
yes,
this. I will give the we have to work together piece this. The federal conservatives, notice they dropped the provincial from their name. And we spoke about it when we spoke about Harper. We could do an entire episode on it. Is essentially evangelical Christians. That's what they are. Not just socially conservative, evangelical Christians who don't even believe in LGBTQ. They don't believe in women's reproductive rights. They don't even think women should be walking around with pants on. Like it's an issue. So I will agree, having a minority government with someone like that gives pause. It's like when you're in a group project and you have to work with that kid.
I am that kid.
Big thing we learned: minority governments can get things done when people
Hells
get their heads
yeah.
out of their asses. Big part of that, Lester B. Pearson. Lots of shit done with a minority government. If all parties can get their heads out of their ass and do what's right for the country. Looking at you, Jagmeet.
Yeah.
Looking at you. Now, the core is our needs pyramid. It's not a hierarchy, it's a pyramid. So, we have our physiological, food and nutrition, sleep, physical activity, whatever that means for you in your ability. It could be something like do your physio.
I'm glad that you put that in there.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just think it's a good idea.
Breathing. Can't believe I have to put that there, but yeah, breathing, shelter, clothing. Now, some of you are like, well, nobody needs Versace. Nobody needs Chanel. No,
No,
but
you're
guess
absolutely
what?
right.
But guess what? You need some
You need a
article.
fucking shit.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see your racking ass except if you have a very, very socially acceptable racking ass.
Yeah.
Which, trust me, I haven't seen.
And also, like, you need to
Especially on
protect
the
yourself.
84-year-old woman who doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah. You need to protect yourself from the elements. We are in Canada. No matter how far south you are in this country, you're gonna get frostbite. I don't care. It's gonna happen.
Especially after this past winter. Ugh.
Exactly. Functionality. So what does that mean? The functionality of your body. If you have difficult doing something, there's probably a reason why. You need to be able to function. Maybe that means a tool, maybe that means physical therapy, maybe that means figuring out how to do something around things.
Maybe that means cursing the world around you.
It could. But is your body able to do what you need it to do? And if not, how can we get it to do what you need it to do? And by that, I mean things like being able to go to the bathroom on your own, being able to bathe, being able to like get your necessities of life. So that's why functionality is there. Now then,
You would not believe how pathetic you feel when you cannot go to the bathroom by yourself because your entire body is wrecked with pain.
do you mind me using an example from when we worked together?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Please.
So when we worked together and I was going through what I thought were the easiest things, like the stuff that I could show you to do right away, one of them was writing a mail slip and writing stock stuff. And you were like, I got to be honest with you, I have issues with this kind of motor control. So we very thankfully got a trainer, got someone to train you specifically to get up to speed so you could take over processing and I could do all of the writing tasks. So that's an example of functionality because we had no way around it. We couldn't do it through the computer. We knew I could do it and that you just had to be trained up to standard. And so thankfully we had a manager who sent someone, and like within the week you were processing all the applications and I was taking care of anything that had to do with writing.
Yep.
So that's an example of like, oh, this isn't possible. How can we change our work tasks to get this to happen? Yeah.
basic example, but an example nonetheless. Next up is safety. What do we mean by safety? Well, body safety. That would be healthcare, now wouldn't it?
No.
Nobody likes the feeling of your body betraying you.
Okay, look, I'm Polly Pocket. Me and my corporate friends, like I'm pretty sure we don't even have bodies, so this is just completely like just liberal propaganda, loony liberals. Oh my god.
Yeah, so healthcare, because it helps with your, whether you want to believe us or not, it does help with your safety. Personal security. So
Okay, so again, I have to stop you right here. Okay, so me and my corporate friends, I'm just gonna say it right now. We have our own security team. Are you telling me that Canada can afford everybody to have its own security team? Oh my god, then that just means that you guys all fail. It's terrible. Ew.
personal security. So I have an asterisk by that, and there is actually a reason for that. And it has to do with I just want to specify, we're talking about not just physical safety, psychological safety, and I can't believe I have to mention this, digital safety. And if you don't think you need digital safety, I want to ask, I laugh about this all the time. As I meet people who they're like, well, the government can't have my DNA or fingerprints. How dare they have it? Willingly gives DNA evidence to ancestry.com or like one of the other things. Like, you don't think they're not going to sell your gene code? I'd rather have it be with a government body that has checks and balances and I can legally go against, instead of making it the private property of a corporation. And then every shock and awe when all of these like DNA things started working with police in the United States. What? You can't do that with my DNA? What? How do you think they're going to make the money? How do you think they're going to make the money? How? Government contracts, people. Like, come on. Financial security.
Okay, so let me stop you right here again, okay? So me and my corporate entities, we don't have to worry about this because I mean, like everybody's rich, and we steal from the weakest of the weak. You want to know? You want to know what needs to be done here? Okay, the weaker need to get stronger with less resources because, oh my god, I can only give out so many corporate tax breaks. Oh my god,
Oh
Polly
my
Pocket.
god.
Oh my god.
Financial security. So this means, not living paycheck to paycheck. If you suddenly have worst case scenario and your refrigerator smashes through your floor, you can deal with that. And I see the face you're making, and I want to tell you, way back in the day when I was a teenager living with my parents, that almost happened to us because it turned out that the floor in the house we were living in, right underneath the refrigerator, was almost completely rotted through.
No way.
Yeah, and if the refrigerator hadn't broken, my parents wouldn't have found out. And that fridge, the floor underneath it was the basement, and it was sitting right on top of the water heater.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it sounds like a weird example, but no, it's that can happen to you. Most people can't suddenly buy a like even a cheap refrigerator is going to cost you $1,000.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of us have that kind of financial security that
it's knucking foots.
Yeah. I did education, learning, or training.
Okay, so again, I want to say, me and my corporate entities, we want people to be able to like look at things, but not actually think about them. Okay, so thinking critically should not even be a part of this. And while we're at it, do we really need learning to go beyond like grade 6? I mean, they can read, they can do basic math. That's all the economic power they need. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it, you need that, and it ensures your safety. It is directly linked to financial security. It is proven to be directly linked into health and wellness and personal security, etc.
Oh no, it's not.
Oh my god. Order. What I mean by that is, I can walk on a sidewalk and reasonably expect a car not to come up onto the sidewalk and hit me because it thinks that it can drive on the sidewalk. That's an example of order.
So there's a certain amount of order in our lives, whether we want to admit it or not. And then health and wellness, and
I don't even need to explain. Ugh.
so this has to do. It tends to be a lot of the psychological health gets called health and wellness. So that's why healthcare tends to refer to the physical as the primary, the psychological as the secondary, and then health and wellness is referring to the psychological um, in place with your physical abilities, etc. Next up, need for belonging. So your social connections or affiliation.
Yeah, actually, me and my corporate guys, we agree with this one. We have lots of parties up at my cottage up north that I paid for when I was housing minister. From corporate kickbacks, and we just want to say that the beautiful jacuzzi parties that we have should be available to everybody with a net worth of $500 million or more.
Oh my god.
I agree with this one. This one's great.
Amazing.
Family dynamics. Again, another perfect example for me and my corporate buddies because we're just one big happy family stealing from the mouths of other Canadians who are not members of our family. Okay, so we've got the romantic and the intimate. Let me tell you something. When those corporate buddies of mine want to fuck Canadians, we really want to fuck Canadians hard in the ass. Like, take it, daddy. Just take it, take it, take it. And oh my god, it works. Okay, sense of connection. You do not know how connected you can be to somebody until you start fucking them in the ass and taking all of their money while making them mad at something that completely doesn't fucking matter. Like, oh my god, axe the carbon tax. Well, we were gonna fucking do that for our corporate buddies anyway and let the environment and you Canadians pay for it. Oh my god, ew. And more important than that, friend dynamics. Let's be honest here. You want to be friends with the soulless billion-trillion-dollar corporations like Loblaws? Oh my god, sign me up, daddy. Sign me up. We want to go with Metro. We want to go with the entire grocery store cartel. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking do it. Like, Canadians need food. It doesn't matter if it's $47 a pound for fucking hamburger. I don't really care because, so help me God, they're going to protect me because I'm friends with them. Hence why we need friend dynamics. Oh my god. Like, this I actually agree with. All of these points I, Polly Pocket, actually agree with.
You wanna know what's funny? That was in jest, but you did a great explanation.
Thank you.
The one thing I want to point out is so sense of connection, that can just be do you feel connected to, say, your neighborhood, your gets my hackles up to say community, but to your community, stuff like that. And then social connections and affiliation. If you didn't notice, this actually came from a collectivist society perspective. So I just want you to understand that. I just want the audience to
Collect a
understand
what?
that.
Oh my god, this better be collecting the money for all the corporate kickbacks I'm going to do because that in of itself is just a terrible way to twist such a beautiful thing.
Next we have esteem, so self-esteem and confidence, a sense of achievement. And I want to note something because collectivist society tries to make a very big distinction with this. Achievement can be linked to stuff that you've done personally, and it can be linked to stuff that you've done in your family, in your social groups, in your communities, or something like that. And it tends to be that achievement, what we achieve, can be linked to our self-esteem and confidence. So
And for example, just to go off of that, because I'm totally super synced with you. Let's say you are a housing minister, okay, and you rose through the ranks by kissing the ass of every corporate and evangelical that you could possibly know, okay? But you haven't written one piece of legislation. And because you were such a puppet, the housing market just completely skyrocketed for people so that only corporations could afford them. And now they're renting them out to those same people and just gouging them for all they're worth. That is a notable achievement for me. Like, you need to be able to fuck people in the ass like me, Polly Pocket, every chance you fucking get. And you want to know something else? I feel genuine belonging because of that achievement. Like, this whole pyramid thing, you can go up, you can go down, and you can just completely love fucking other people in the ass.
thanks for that. respect and freedom.
No, we don't need that.
This
Ew,
could be
wrong,
from,
bad.
with, others, or the self, and then recognition, admiration.
You know what? I admire myself and my corporate buddies, and this one is just so true.
All right, next one. Self-actualization. So this is lifelong learning and creativity, getting kind of a certain amount of fulfillment. This is where we talk about inner potential, meaning, and purpose. And I have an explanation for that. So this can come because, again, collectivist society tries to be about your place in society. You feeling that you have met your inner potential, that you have meaning and purpose, can come from one's status in society. So
yeah, like say future Prime Minister of Canada.
exactly, where did my mouse go? There it is. And then
we don't need that.
Yeah, this is where we
It's
start
bad.
caring about morality and ethics, and this is where I think I've mentioned it before to you, where I said I find that in academia, when we start talking very theoretically, we start missing the point about what it's like when you're actually living that reality. You see
Wait, people live in the reality where they get fucked in the ass. Does it feel as good as it sounds like how good it feels?
But like one of that would be public policy, like the policymakers.
Oh yeah.
I tend to find, as much as it's great to hire in recent graduates straight into a policy job, when they have never actually had to implement the policy and follow it, you can see a disconnect. You can see it because they don't know all of the little tasks that are linked to just that policy and how much changes in day-to-day processes. And that's where I want to come back to. You've got like morality and ethics debates, which are great and all, but there are people who, if they are struggling every day and don't have financial security, if they can't guarantee their shelter, can't guarantee your clothing, they're not sleeping because they have to work insane hours, they are not going to care about the morality and ethics. They care about their right now. And I just want to mention that as a factor where, again, it's understanding people where they are. And then we get into self-transcendence, which...
Oh, wait. I know this one. Okay. So there's this guy that I know. I'm just going to call him Donnie. Who has transcended what it means to be a politician and just started to be a god. Like, I look up to him, okay? I champion his playbook, and it doesn't really matter if it's fucking my country up the ass. I'm going to use the same playbook. But what is important is because he has transcended himself into something of a tyrant or Darth Vader like figure. I have to then, as hopefully future Prime Minister of Canada, take myself and distance myself from him in the hopes that I can convince about 12 ugly, evil, stupid people that I am literally the best option to be able to deal with Darth Vader, when in reality, I'm just a fucking stormtrooper who can't aim.
So
I shouldn't have said that. If you're there, I'll censor this from the record. I don't want anybody to think I'm a stormtrooper who can't aim. Ew.
So self-transcendence and is linked to kind of a future generation, and it's linked to transpirational psychology. And in essence, what we're talking about is the ability to connect to the greater consciousness and unity. And that leads us into community actualization, where you're able to really connect.
There is no such thing as community unless it's with your corporate buddies who have at least $500 million or more.
That connects into societal perpetuity. So this
Hence why,
that
if you have the small group of people, let's call them an oligarchy, who control all the money and resources, and you're part of it, you are more important by virtue of perpetuity. So there's this cute little boo. Okay, I call him Elon. Okay, so
no, we're not
Elon,
giving him more time. Nope. Now then, from societal perpetuity, so allowing our society to continue on for generations,
for the love of God,
we get into
I feel so censored.
Our global interactions. So that's international initiatives. This is where we get our trade and economy. And we also have
perfect example here. The tariffs. tariffs are a good thing. I don't know why people say that they aren't. Hey, you want to know what's even funnier than having rational tariffs that are governed by international law? Having stupid ones! Like 250% on liquor! It is protectionist for the economy, and it totally fairly hurts everyone who's just like, did we import more than like you guys can take in? Like, it's actually study wise, like Canada is doing you guys a huge favor, but no, you want to know what it is? The protectionist policy of trade and economy is nothing short of a wonderful, fantastical, superficial, super sexy thing. It makes life so much better for every corporate entity of $500 million or more, because you want to know what we're going to do? You want to know what we're going to do when all these tariffs are implemented? We're going to go and we're going to raise our prices on Canadian goods in perpetuity so that everything is more expensive so that we get more money for stuff that you need. Eat it, bitches. Eat it.
On that note, I want to add a couple things in. So, some of you are probably saying creativity, hobbies, that's not obvious here. It's not obvious, but if you have half a brain, it is. For example, there's a lot of creative pursuits that actually fit into physical activity. I never defined what physical activity, but any physical activity is better than nothing. I use the example of physio, but you also have multiple physical arts that are physical activity. So that links in here. What it also links into is your education and learning. And as you progress through, say, a creative pursuit, you can start getting achievement, self-confidence, connections to different groups, developing friends, having that greater sense of connection. It also connects into your health and wellness, and it's also part of healthcare. So those creative pursuits do link into a lot of different things. Um, that may
I'm
not
not going to say anything.
that may not necessarily uh, instantly make you think, oh, it's included, blah, blah, blah. But it actually is. I find that a lot of these things, from the base through safety, need of belonging, especially esteem and self-actualization, are definitely connected.
I actually have a bit of an issue with the whole global interaction defense thing, so maybe you can explain it a little bit to me. So are you saying like sort of like international military spending defense kind of thing, or is it more of, should I try to defend myself from the soulless corporate tyrant who is currently fucking me over with rent control increases that my little boo Ford, hi Dougie, I love you, did by, say, deregulating rent controls for the province of Ontario. Like, what kind of defense are we talking about here? Because one of those I can totally get behind, and the other one, ew, no, give me the money.
I have to back up and re-record what I just said.
Oh, oh, shit.
Yeah, so
Like all of it?
no, just the few sentences I said when it came to creativity and evolution.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
Okay, so
I don't care
about
about any of
you're
that.
wondering, where's the creative pursuits? How does this link into evolution? How does this actually perpetuate society? Well, I'll start off with saying a lot of creative pursuits are in fact physical activity. And you need some kind of physical activity, any kind of physical activity. I don't care if it's a sport, if it's an art form, heck, even just standing and painting at an easel, you're moving your body. And that also helps with functionality of your body. It's like physio without realizing you're doing it. What that also,
Ew.
yeah,
We call that posers.
but what we also links into is your overall feeling of health and wellness. You can get a friend group from doing this, an increased sense of connection. Hey, maybe romantic and intimacy things. Maybe you're doing this with your family. You create social connections. Maybe you get affiliation. And this helps with your self-esteem and confidence. You make achievements. You build up that respect. You build up sort of recognition and admiration in your group, whether it's at large or in just a small little cloister.
Like a corporate cloister.
But what creative thinking also does is it feeds into other things such as engineering, scientific development, and other
areas that we view as more essential. Having a creative mind, a flexibly creative mind, lets you think outside of the box and work within certain limitations, such as, I don't know, budgetary restraints.
Oh, it's like that show that governs Donald Trump's entire corporate takeover of the United States. What's it called? Pinky in the Brain, okay? Except in the case of the United States, there is no pinky to be the brain. So it's just the brain going off on weird tangents on True Social.
Exactly.
See, he has a community in of himself, just like I have a community in of myself, of my corporate daddies that are telling me everything to do and everything to think, to be Donald Trump light. So therefore, I at least have a pinky. Like, ew. Can you imagine just not having a pinky and pinky in the brain? It'd just be wrong.
Lastly, I do want to say, so some people who are familiar with this stuff are probably going to have something to say about like relationships, because I think the original Maslow's was more limited to relationships in terms of mating, retention, and parenting. It's
I'm not gonna lie, that's where I was going with my relationship with the corporates.
So there we go. That's what I wanted to talk about. Now, I feel like I've already been through each of these things, which I definitely have been. Look at all of this. But I wanted to create a bunch of animations for you guys, because, I don't know, I felt like jazzing it up a bit.
So is this presentation going to be available on like the Death Pixie website or something like that?
Oh yeah.
Because I think you are missing a huge opportunity.
So here we go. I just wanted to show this off for little Nathan Crabsworth so that he realizes how much work I do for everybody.
Who the fuck is that? I'm Polly Pocket, next Prime Minister of Canada.
Look at this go! Whee!
Wee! Oh, okay. Up. I see social perpetuity. What's it? It just grew. You want to know why it grew? Because my corporate entities are like, oh my god, we can use this to steal Canada away from Canadians.
Now,
Just imagine taps powered by exclusively Nestle, $150 per 500 milliliters.
Here, I'm glad you brought that up. So, how do we use the core needs pyramid? Well, it helps us in understanding where people are at. So, if you don't have food and nutrition, you don't have shelter, your health and wellness is probably not going to be very good. You're probably not getting a lot of sleep. You're probably not feeling any personal security. You're not feeling a lot of financial security because you're working all the time and you feel like you're not getting forward. You don't have that sense of social connectedness. You can't see your friends, you can't see your family, so you don't really have dynamics there. You're not getting any self-esteem. You feel like you're achieving nothing. You're continuing on with, running this hamster wheel to nowhere with no sense of connection to even what could be called like a group of people or a community. And so that's the part.
This feels like an unfair attack on the corporation. I will not stand for it.
But that's the why I like the visual of the pyramid, because you can see how this whole thing comes down. If people don't have a solid base, they can't think about everything else going on up at the top. But that being said, it can also work in the reverse, where something happens at the top and destroys everything. For example,
so let's say if
war, international war, which leads us to just a blow up of the whole thing.
Can that include a trade war?
Sure.
Oh my god! Yay! We're blowing it up, people!
What I really want to know, though, is I need Crabsworth back, because I want to know, Crabsworth, what do you think of my epic animation?
It needed to be a little bit more blinky. I am weirdly surprised that it is not nearly as blinky as it needs to be. Like, I'm gonna be honest, this feels restrained.
For me?
From you. Yeah.
But you want to know what's even more fun? Playing it in reverse!
Woo! Hey, wait a minute, where'd the trailer go? Ew,
let's bring it back! Oh no!
Bam!
Now then, now that you know where we're coming from, what are we doing moving forward? Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do moving forward. Can item moves? Yes.
I showed you that items can move. We showed you that the threat of war is a global interaction that directly impacts everything. Money versus economy. One more time. Economy is the movement of money. It does not care about pay rate. It also doesn't care about pay rate either, cost of living, etc. It does not care about you.
Wait. Hang on. I'm sorry. Think of the economy as a car, and think of corporations as a driver. If you don't get the corporations all the money, they'll throw you over the edge of a cliff. That's just the way it is.
If people's foundational needs are not met, they do not care about the rest. This is not working out. This is not do your best, forget about the rest. No, if certain things are not met, they don't care anymore. And that is a problem. That's increased apathy. Like we need any more apathy. If that foundation is not present, everything crumbles. A government's responsibility, and I did a lot of research on this, in essence, in general, a government's responsibility is to the majority of the people and putting laws and standards in place to protect the people, allowing the people to thrive and express themselves in a way that does not violate the rights of others.
Are you sure about that?
The majority of the people are employees, not employers.
Oh my god. No, really? No.
Once again,
doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work for the next Prime Minister of Canada.
Once again, if I wasn't clear about this, society is about creating parameters that will allow all to thrive without endangering the rights, health, well-being, safety, and security of others. Within those parameters, people are able to find their place to belong, build their sense of self, family, community, and country. So that's why
I didn't make PP sound like Milhouse Van Houten, because he would be smart enough to actually follow that one, and I needed a total airhead.
Yeah. But that's the reason why I use society is you heard me say I don't like the term community. And it's because communities can change their rules and you can be kicked out. A community is great until you're viewed as not being part of that community. Just look at the history of shunning. If you want like an example of that.
If you want another example, look at every race relation ever.
Exactly. If you want another example, look at for, hundreds of years when women tried to leave, they were told, that's great, but the kids are my property, get out. Like,
why does Bruce Banner have to turn into the Hulk? Because society does not want the Hulk to come out.
So, but that's the thing is society is about creating legal parameters in which we can all operate. Can society always improve? Yes, that is true. But the point is, in a society, you have recourse. You can change the rules. In a community, you have to convince every single person that it's a good idea. And that can be an insurmountable problem, especially with advents of shunning, harassment. What do you think Scientology is? Everybody's like,
I actually know this one. Okay. So Scientology is the name of the new curriculum that we're going to be pushing to the students when we take over science and actually make it fun again. Like, say, for example, instead of like facts and figures that are backed up by thousands and thousands of years of research by people smarter than me, we say that a little alien named Xenu made everything. And we base it all off of a book by a guy who isn't even as good of a writer as George R.R. Martin, and he stinks.
Oh, you mentioned facts and figures, right?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of money, I bet everybody's asking themselves, what about corruption? Also,
actually, I think I'm wondering why the Canadian thing has like Japanese or Chinese letters on it. I just noticed it now.
Look, this is AI generated art. Because we have no budget.
We're becoming the 51st state. Like the one on the right actually makes total sense. Look at our money. It's like this weird American ivory kind of thing. Oh, look at that! The police thing has a little dollar sign on it.
They're the money police. Do you get it? Do you get it? They're the money police.
Yes, I get it. I want to be in those guys.
So, I bet you're asking yourselves, well, what about the corruption, Myry? Well, what is government? Government is not a business. A lot of the corruption that you see in government, the major pieces of corruption are elected officials coming in and circumventing practices in place that are meant to avoid favoritism, bias, and thus corruption.
Hang on a second, Doug Ford here. Are you saying that me giving my tax break to my corporate friends and my beautiful spa that I put in at taxpayers' expense for rich people was corrupt?
Yes. So,
No.
governments are meant to provide services, not make money.
Well, the thing is, we're not making money. We're actually contributing to the deficit, and it provides services to the rich. So I don't really understand. You're not making a real good point, Mary.
Yeah, so my big problem is a lot of people try to come in and say, I'm a good businessman, so I'd be good in politics. No, you wouldn't. I'm sorry, you wouldn't be. Because the point of government is to provide and maintain services. The money that government is making or saving or spending is meant to go into programs to help the people. Why? Because that is where the money came from. Corporations function in a country and should pay taxes. Why? Because they are using our resources, they're using our people. Therefore, you need to contribute to our society. And I'm sorry.
Yeah, but they also provide people with low-paying jobs while we keep most of the money for ourselves. You're not even at all thinking about the human rights of corporations.
But anyway, this is why businessmen get in. They have their own businesses. They get that under government contract, or they're invested in certain corporations that get in under government contract. And what's really funny is the amount of conflict of interest laws that apply to what I refer to as day-to-day government do not apply to them. And it's very, very interesting. And that I don't like. But we'll get into that later. But for now that we've set you up, I want to say a big old thank you to you guys for coming this far. And the next episode is where we reveal the big plan.
Wait. So we're not even going to reveal the plan in this episode? That's some crazy shit you're talking, Mary.
Well, I need
It
Crabsworth
feels like
back.
a giant 81-minute cock tease.
It is!
Hell, I can't believe that I guest hosted on Death Pixies, Lily Liberal, batshit crazy, stupid idea on a party platform, and I don't even know who my opponent, who I'm going to lose against, is going to be. This is completely wrong. Ew.
On that note, I really need little Nathan Crabsworth for the next episode.
I'm here.
All right. So what I do want to say is goodbye, everybody.
I really don't know what came over me for the last 45 minutes of this, but bye.
Bye. Oh, also,
Jerry.
we love you, Jerry. Thank you so much for supporting us.
Jerry, I just want to say that, the soulless corporations in Canada could use a little Kazakhstan sugar every now and then.
Get out of here! Jerry is sacred. Get out. Out.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're going to go right into the next episode. We're getting this done today. All right, here we go.
Can we stop for a quick second?
Give me a second. Where's my pause?
Yeah. Pausing up.
Hey, this is Trapdoor Crabsworth for Death Pixie. If you liked our content, please like this video and subscribe. And if you want to see more, just check out our links in the description. Do it. 200 Myry will kill you.